Let's move on to other topics. The major news, of course, over the weekend was that the remaining 5 members of the Bali Nine have arrived on home soil. After more than 19 years in prison for drug smuggling, they're now free men. Here's the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
The 5 men committed serious offences. Australia shares Indonesia's concern about the serious problem illicit drugs represents. These Australians served more than 19 years in prison in Indonesia. It was time for them to come home.
James Ashby, good call or bad call?
I'm a bit mixed on this, I must admit. Part of me hates the idea. I was only a young bloke. They were only a few years younger than me when they were found to be strapped with, several kilos of heroin trying to get out of Indonesia all those years ago. They have had their lives squandered by their own decisions. I'm not for a second saying that's anyone's fault by their own. But these were young blokes, and 19 years in an Indonesian prison would feel like a lifetime of hell. Sometimes I wish that our prison system would treat criminals the same way as they do, because it might be more of a deterrent. But one thing I found very interesting about this decision, it was reported today that they've had their sentences quashed. Now, that's very interesting terminology because, as we know, if you're a convicted criminal, when you return to Australia or you get out of prison here, you aren't to profit off your crimes. That mere statement of having their prison terms quashed may allude to the fact that these blokes might be able to sell their stories at a later date. That's something I'd just keep an eye out for. But, yeah, look, I've got mixed emotions. I know there's plenty of people out there. I hate the scourge of drugs in this country. And it's people like these young blokes and the one woman that was involved in it that have killed many people in this country who've either dabbled or become hooked on drugs as a result of their actions. So mixed reaction, but look, let's hope they make something of what is left of their lives.
Yeah, I share your sentiments. I feel pretty mixed about this as well, Michael. I mean, they've served 19 years, which is probably what they would have got had they been sentenced in Australia. These guys were, early 20s when they committed these crimes? Do you leave them there for the rest of their lives, or do you give them the opportunity for redemption, but you've still got to be tough on drugs?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, look, I think James is right. There's no winner out of this. Young kids do stupid things. But for the grace of God, there's a lot of people who've done stupid things in their lives. These kids got caught, and as James says, how many people have been killed down the road by taking the drugs that these people might have done before? Who knows? Who knows what the history is? But as a parent, and I've got 4 boys, and a parent, you think to yourself, one of my kids has been in Coroccoban, what's it called, Jakirabokken jail for 19 years. And he's coming home at Christmas, boy. So as a parent, you think to yourself, 19 years is a long time. As you say, that's probably 40 years in an Australian jail.
Yeah. Well, let's hope they make the most of the opportunity, because, to be honest, they were fortunate not to be shot. They've been given a second chance, and so good luck to them. Let's hope they can turn things around. One more thing before we get to the break. Common sense seems to have prevailed for at least some in this country. The Melbourne Storm NRL team have decided to ditch regular welcome to country ceremonies, saying, quote, "We're really keen to let our actions rather than words reflect what we stand for as a club in the community." So they'll still do welcome to country occasionally, but it won't be like the excessive amount that we're used to in so much sport these days. Michael Kroger, what do you think?
Well, mate, we're past peak woke, as I said. And,
Gee, I hope so. I hope you're right.
you can just feel it everywhere. You can feel it everywhere across the board, starting with the university vice chancellors in America who got sacked over anti-Semitism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's throughout the world. People are sick of the welcome to countries. I mean, they don't want to be disrespectful to Indigenous Australians at all. But at every sporting event, when meetings start, public service have meetings, and this is ridiculous. People are over it.
Can I ask you something about being a Victorian? The AFL is so woke. Is it significant that the Melbourne Storm have made this decision here in AFL Heartland?
It is a little bit here in Victoria. They're basically sending a message to the AFL. I would think an overwhelming majority of football supporters don't want this, but they're very polite at the ground. They don't want to show disrespect, but they're certainly over Qantas welcoming us to Australia every time we land in a Qantas plane. That's got to go in due course, because that doesn't do Qantas any good.
Yeah.
People don't want to be patronised in that way.
James, what do you reckon? Do you agree with Michael that we are beyond peak woke and there's a turn coming?
Well, I heard this was coming about 4 weeks ago, and I thought, I'll believe it when I see it. Look, if the one thing that I can say to the NRL itself is, until it happens across the entire NRL, it means nothing from the Storm. But if they can do it in Victoria, that should be a clear indication to the whole NRL teams across the entire country. If they can do it, you can do it as a code altogether. So, and Michael is right. I want to see it going from not just NRL but aircraft. We're all over it. The wokeism has got to stop, and maybe can be a New Year's resolution for so many corporate industry as well as sporting clubs from January 1, 2025. Wouldn't that be amazing?
It'd be a great Christmas present. I hope that we all get it. Michael Kroger, James Ashby, appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks, mate.